सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, we are revising chapter 10 today. So, Peter, you want to go first?
Yeah,
You
okay.
prepared?
But how do I present it in the screen? I am on a WhatsApp. Sorry,
You want
mobile.
me to share? Oh, gosh. Give me 1 minute. I need to.
Oh, you are on mobile. Okay.
No, mobile.
Can anyone
If you
present the
join on
slides?
the laptop, you can share your slides, no?
1 second. Let me get this thing onto my laptop and then I'll share it. Peter, hold on.
Yeah, please.
I usually don't have my WhatsApp on my laptop at all.
Yeah, I also don't have this WhatsApp in laptop. So it is only in the mobile.
It's probably a very good thing.
And Zoom also, this I'm not able to download in the laptop because some protection and all is there in our company laptop. So I'm not doing that. The other laptop at home is very old. Need to change.
Uday, you are able to do, otherwise I can do it as well.
If you are already on it,
Yeah.
the email is finding its way into my
Okay, I
laptop.
will.
He sent a PDF.
I got it. I
Uday.
got it.
Oh, there it is.
Alpana. Oh, you got it already?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. Peter, all yours.
Okay, Hari Om. Am I audible to all?
Yes.
Okay, next slide, please. Yes, today we will be revising chapter 10 summary. And before I start putting forth my points, I will invoke the Guru Sloka, the Guru Gayatri. Om Guru Devaya Vidmahe Parabrahmaya Dhimahi Dhanno Guru Prachodayade. He is the Parabrahma, the supreme teacher. Without his guidance, it is not possible to attain spirituality and understand God or enlighten the souls. Om Guruve Namaha. Next slide, please. Okay, I've just made it a little bit exhaustive, but I think most of the the description I've given here is already known. But finally, I have also added my takeaways. I think through that we can understand what exactly I'm trying to speak from this chapter 10 summary. So chapter 10 summary is the continuation from chapter 7 and chapter 9, where Krishna establishes the supreme nature of being the Sthiti and Laya Karanam of the universe. So chapter 7 begins Krishna's glories, again continued in chapter 9 and then expressed very well in chapter 10 as his Vibhutis. His Vibhutis were briefly touched upon in chapter 7, where he says, I am the sun, moon, water, sweetness, etc. And the same he continues to glorify in chapter 10, from the 20th verse to the 39th verse. So the crux of chapter 10 is the 20th verse to 39th verse, which we will be discussing in detail. He establishes from verse 1 to 10 that everything is from him, and through bhakti one can attain him, which is verse 10. To those whose minds are always united with me in loving devotion, I give the divine knowledge by which they can attain me. So one of the most important verses where he emphasizes bhakti. So I thought I should put this verse here. Verse 11 is also significant, where he says, out of compassion for them, I who dwell within their hearts, destroy the darkness born of ignorance with the luminous lamp of knowledge. So verse 11, very significant here. He says that I am residing in the heart, and then I will also clear the ignorance. So depending on me is the ultimate aim of all your human beings. Again, from verse 12 to 18, Arjuna glorifies the Lord of his greatness, saying that I have heard it from the rishis, and now you are glorifying the same. And in verse 18, Arjuna again asking Krishna to give in detail his divine glories. So verse 18, tell me again in detail your divine glories and manifestations, O Janardana. I can never tire of hearing your nectar. So, verse 18 significant, where Arjuna is asking Krishna to give his vibhutis. So slightly shifting from here, there is a small interpretation of Swami P here. So Swami P has an interpretation of Arjuna asking in verse 17, what qualifications are required for yoga prapti or Ishvara Yanam? And one of the important qualification is dhyana. Next slide, please. So verse 17 is significant from 12 to 18. Verse 17, it says, please describe to me your divine opulences by which you pervade all the worlds and reside in them. O Supreme Master of Yoga, how may I know you and think of you? And while meditating, in what forms can I think of you, O Supreme Divine Personality? So here he brings this concept of meditation. So which means that all along we have been meditating with the Ishtadevata Rupam of the God. And here he is bringing the slight shift from Ishtadevata to Vishwarupa meditation or Aneka Rupa meditation. So Swami P elaborates here again, the reason for giving the vibhutis is to transform the meditation from Ishtadevata to Aneka Rupa Devata. And all the vibhutis can be taken as a representation of Aneka Rupa or Vishwarupa Alambanam, which means a symbol in Upasana meditation. So the tectonic shift happens here from Ishtadevata meditation to Vishwarupa meditation, which is one of the major shifts which is required in the journey of any Vedantic student to see the world as a manifestation of the God. So a small representation in Keno Upanishad, lightning is taken as a symbol in Upasana, and in Chando Upanishad, clouds are taken as Alampanam, which means that anything which is a creation of God can be taken as an expression of Upasana, and you can shift from Ishtadevata to Vishwarupa Darshan or Aneka Rupa Darshan. So that is what is trying to be elaborated here. The shift in Upasana meditation is a step change in your outlook towards the way you perceive God from a limited name form structure to an expanded stature. So this is what happens when you change from Ishtadevata Rupam to Aneka Rupam or Vishwarupam. Also, Swami P says this shift will tremendously transform your Vedantic journey, and almost 90% will be achieved if you are able to see all creation with oneness as God. And he calls this divinization of the world. So, in fact, chapter 11 talks about this also, from Laukika Chaksu to Jivya Chaksu. If you can change your perception, then whatever you see, you will see as a manifestation of the God. So it continues in chapter 11 also, which we are going to see. So he says you don't have to wait for an avataram, since the entire world is an avataram and it is always readily present. So this is again, Swami P keeps emphasizing that, we don't have to wait for a Rama or Krishna avataram. The avataram is always available in front of us, which is available 24/7 right from the world has been created. And it is only our perception change which is required, to see this as an avataram. So that is what is explained in verse 17, where you can take the representation of any glories or vibhutis of God in your Upasana meditation and then shift from Ishtadevata to Vishwarupa Devata. So verse 18, again Arjuna continues, tell me again in detail your divine glories and manifestations, O Janardana. I can never tire of hearing your nectar. Swami P jokingly says, Arjuna is buttering Krishna to give his glories. So now Krishna wants to listen to Arjuna wants to listen to the glories of Krishna. And this is where the Vibhuti explanation begins from verse 19. The Lord spoke, I shall now briefly describe my divine glories to you, O best of the Gurus, for there is no end to their detail. So the crux of the chapter starts. So verse 20, O Arjuna, I am seated in the heart of all living entities. I am the beginning, middle, and end of all beings. Again, a very, very important verse. I think one of the best verses considered by Ramana Maharishi. And Swami P also emphasizes that Krishna starts his Vibhuti with this Chit Rupena Vibhuti, which is one of the highest level of Vibhuti. So, and he starts from Chit Rupena Vibhuti and ends with Sat Rupena Vibhuti in verse 39. So in between, he brings about all his vibhutis, which is both, celestial vibhutis and also worldly vibhutis. So a small quote from Taittiriya Upanishad. God is he from whom all living beings have emanated. God is He within whom all living beings are situated. God is He into whom all living beings shall unite. So very, very related verse here from Taittiriya Upanishad also, which means that the beginning, middle, and end is all God, which we need to understand. Next slide, please. So verse 20 also reinforces verse 11, where Krishna says he is seated in the hearts. So in both verse 11 and verse 20, he brings this vision of being seated in the heart. And also is the Chit Rupa Vibhuti. And the last verse 39, as I was already saying, emphasize the Sat Rupa Vibhuti of the Lord. So verse 39, I am the generating seed of all living beings, O Arjuna. No creature, moving or non-moving, can exist without me. So the Vibhuti start with Chit and end with Sat. So the two main glories of Bhagavan is Chitrupa Vibhuti and Satrupa Vibhuti. As Swami P explains, Krishna starts with Chitrupa Vibhuti in verse 20 and he concludes with Chatrupa Vibhuti in verse 39. And he emphatically says the best form of meditation is Satchit Rupena, see the Lord everywhere. So this is what Swami P emphasizes. But again, Krishna is not in a very mature mind to do this kind of meditation, which is almost like an arupa meditation. So in between, Krishna explains other vibhutis, which includes the celestial and worldly vibhutis. And I will take one vibhuti, which is Gayatri meter, and explain. So this was very meaningful to me, and it in fact changed my perception of the entire Gayatri mantra, which I will explain in the next slide. So verse 35, I'm directly shifting. I'm not going into all the verses where Krishna, gives a lot of vibhutis. So verse 35, among the hymns is the Sama Veda, knowing me to be the Brahasama. Among poetic meters, I am the Gayatri. Of the 12 months of the Hindu calendar, I am Margari, and of the season, I am spring, which brings forth the flowers. So he says, among the poetic meters, I am the Gayatri, where he mentions the Gayatri mantra. So elaborating Gayatri Mantra here, Swami P says Gayatri Mantra has all the three Vedas encapsulated in it. So this was a very big eye-opener to me. So which means Tatsya Vidur Vareniam, the first line of Gayatri is the Rig Veda Sara. Vargo Devasya Dhimahi, he got it from the Yajur Veda Sara. And Dino Prachodayadhe, he got it from the Samaveda Sara. So Brahmaji extracted one pada of Gayatri from the three Vedas, and he got the above mantra, which is originally called the Savitri mantra. So a small explanation is also given by Swami P, that people who have been taking Gayatri mantra as their religious ritual need to do the Gayatri mantra. But for others, the mantra is slightly different, and it is called Savitri mantra, which can be chanted by others. So as Alpana was saying, I think a couple of weeks back, that for the Gayatri mantra, we need to unlock, unlock and then do the Gayatri mantra. And in case of people who have been given the Gayatri mantra, should do the cleansing ritual first, and then recite the Gayatri mantra, and then ensure that the cleansing ritual is closed. So which is a part of our the Madhyanam or the Sandhya Vandanam. So it is called Savitri Mantra because the presiding deity is Surya Bhagavan, and Surya is called Savitri in Sanskrit. So this was actually a very, very neat eye-opener to me, that how the Gayatri Mantra has to be chanted. And I didn't know that there was another mantra similar existing, which is called Savitri Mantra, and which can be chanted by all. So by reciting the Gayatri Mantra, one invokes all the three Vedas. So one of the major changes which I understood from this Vibhuti of Bhagavan. So verse 42, again the final verse, what need is there for me in all this detailed knowledge, O Arjuna? Simply know that by one fraction of my being, I prevail and support this entire creation. So he says, though I am saying all this, if you believe in me, and if you come into the Saranagati to me, I can actually change your course of life, which is required even without this knowledge. So Lord Krishna again establishes his stature as the creator of the world, and sets the foundation for the next chapter, where the bad experiences are also and will be associated with God, and hence the seeker must develop the maturity to accept both good and bad things. So which means that the 10th chapter is all the good things of the Lord, and the 11th chapter is going to explain the bad experiences also, and we need to have the maturity to understand that also, and not to shun saying the bad experience is not God and only the good experience is the God. So we need to have the maturity to understand both the experiences of God, which again we are going to do in chapter 11 when we go to that chapter. So finally, the key takeaways, the symbol for Upasana meditation can be selected from the Vibhutis, was an eye-opener for me personally. And it is important to transform from Eka Rupa to Aneka Rupa to finally a Rupa. So to be very specific here, I was struggling with my meditation, and I selected Ramana Maharishi's Arunachala as my Vishwarupa Alambana, and I try to meditate on the hill, which is supposed to be the God himself, the Ishvara himself. So this is one area which has helped me to change from Eka Rupa to Aneka Rupa. And also the essence of Gayatri Mantra is excellent, and I've started chanting Gayatri Mantra the traditional way. In fact, I have started doing Sandhi, the traditional way, and it helps in giving more perfection to me in this mantra. And finally, elevating to Satchit Rupena meditation and seeing God everywhere is the final journey, which I think will happen in the course of time. So this is what is the essence I picked up from chapter 10. Being a summary, I thought I will restrict myself to this 15 to 20 minutes of speaking. And I think thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Hari Om to all. Thank you. Any questions, please?
Awesome. Yeah, I have only one question, Srini. So do you do Sandhya Vandanam 3 times a day now?
2 times. The middle I'm not able to do at the office, but 2 times I do, morning and evening.
Awesome. Amazing. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank
great
you.
summary, Srini. Loved it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very
awesome.
much.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. Is it okay if I go next? Because I want to leave by 7 o'clock. Okay. So,
yeah, sure. Thank you.
Any questions for Srini while I bring up my...
I have a question. I don't know if I'm audible. You can hear me okay?
You're
Yes.
audible. Yeah.
So my understanding was that the presiding deity of Gayatri Mantra is actually Gayatri Mata, Saraswati, mother of the Vedas. But this is something new for me. So I kind of wanted to also and also there is I have read a story or heard a story about Savitri, who is also a goddess, and like Srini pointed out that Surya is the god Surya is also called Savitri in Sanskrit. So I just wanted a clarification around this.
The word is Savitra, I think, no?
Srini, you want to answer that?
No, I just listened to Swami P and put it there. So it means the Gayatri Mantra meter is required for a particular people, and the remaining people can do the Savitri Mantra. No, that is what was said by Swami P. In fact, I got a lecture of his also. I think I can forward this into the group so that a clear understanding is possible.
Thanks, Srini.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to take a minute and share my screen here. And while I share my screen, actually, I've got a video for all of you. And I don't know if you remember, there was, I think it was maybe Ketu, you or Kishore, one of you shared this person's video sometime back. Okay, you will recognize this person in an instant. I'm going to share a video of what they presented as chapter 10 summary, okay? So I did a lazy job of looking around for a right video to present. So please bear with me, okay? Let me know if you're able to see my screen. Are you able to see my screen? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to play the video. And one of you can
share the sound too.
Yeah, I'll just turn on the sound. One of you can acknowledge if you're able to hear me.
Seeing this form which no one has seen, I feel great joy, and yet my mind trembles with fear. I am diplomacy of those who seek victory. I am silence among secrets, and I am wisdom of the wise. For interesting insights on temples, philosophy, and literature, subscribe to this channel and press the bell icon for reminders. Hello and namaste. If everything that exists is God, then what about all the evil in this world? Is that also God? This is the question with which we ended my last post. Our scriptures give a very disconcerting answer to this question. Everything that exists is God, period. You cannot just choose the pleasant things and reject the unpleasant things. Sukham dukkham bhavo abhavo bhayam cha abhayam eva cha. Pleasure and pain, birth and death, fear and fearlessness, fame and ill fame, all are born out of me, Krishna says in the 10th chapter. There is a beautiful mantra on goddess Durga which encapsulates this essence of Vishwarupam. It talks of all the different forms in which the goddess resides in all of us. It keeps switching between attractive and not so attractive qualities at random, treating them both with equal respect. Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Buddhirupena Samstita Namastasyai 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 Namo Namaha. I pray to the goddess who abides in all beings in the form of intelligence. Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Nidrarupena Samstita. I pray to the goddess who abides in all beings in the form of sleep. I pray to the goddess who abides in all beings in the form of power, in the form of thirst, in the form of beauty, in the form of delusion. Each of these descriptions is invoked with equal reverence. That is the goal of Vishwarupam, to see the whole world as one, to reject nothing, to expand our heart and mind so much that our love is able to encompass the whole universe. Having said that, this is not an easy form to accept. Adrishtapurvam Hrishitosmi Drishtva Bhayena cha Pravyatitam Mano me Tadeva me Darshaya Deva Rupam Prasida Devesha Jagannivasa. Seeing this form which no one has seen, I feel great joy, and yet my mind trembles with fear. Please have mercy on me and again show me your pleasant form, O God of gods. Arjuna pleads after witnessing the Vishwarupam. It is so easy to categorize the world as good and bad. I can love all the good things and hate all the bad things and label them as Satan or evil or devil. Our scriptures do not provide us with that luxury. Since it's such a hard thing to accept, our scriptures prescribe a journey for discovering God. You begin your journey with a personal God, a God who has a form similar to us, who's easy to relate to, who possesses all the attractive qualities that we aspire, who can fulfill our desires. Arjuna himself, even after witnessing the Vishwarupam, wants to see this form of God. Kiritinam gadinam chakrahasta chamitvam drishtumaham tateva tenaiva rupena chaturbhujena sahasrabaho bhava vishwamurte. O thousand-armed one, though you are the embodiment of the entire creation, I wish to see your four-armed form carrying the mace and the disc and wearing the crown. Once our mind is matured, the next step is to recognize all the great, wonderful, and good things of the world belong to the Lord. He is not limited by a form. If you see greatness in anyone, you recognize God in them. Yadyad vibhuti matsatvam Srimadurjitameva va Tattadevava gachatvam Mama tejomsha sambhavam. Whatever you see as beautiful, glorious, or powerful, they are all just a spark of my splendor, Krishna says in the 10th chapter, which is titled Vibhuti Yogam. In this chapter, the glory of God is vividly described. I am sun among the stars, Himalayas among the mountain, Meru among the peaks, Samaveda among the Vedas, Indra among the gods, mind among the senses. I am intelligence. I am Muruga among commanders. I am self-knowledge among all the branches of knowledge. I am diplomacy of those who seek victory. I am silence among secrets, and I am wisdom of the wise. This chapter of Gita is pure poetry. It should be noted that Krishna begins the description of his glory with this statement: Ahamatma Gudakesha Sarvabhuta Shayastitaha. I am the self residing in the hearts of all beings. That is the greatest of his glories. Being able to see him as such is the ultimate goal of our spiritual journey. There are many benefits to understanding and worshipping God in this form.
I'm pausing here because I want you to listen to how this lady explains the benefits of chapter 10. Okay.
First, it teaches us humility. We are constantly reminded that whatever greatness we possess, it belongs to God. Yellam pugarum iraivanukke, all glory belongs to God. The music composer A.R. Rahman began his Oscar acceptance speech with these words. Imagine being able to remember this at the moment of your greatest achievement. How grounded it will keep you. Second, it helps us to recognize and appreciate greatness in everyone. Even the people whom we dislike, we develop the ability to see the God in them. It increases our sphere of acceptance. It broadens our mind. In our culture, we greet everyone with Namaste. Namaste means, I bow to the God in you. It is meant to remind us constantly of the divinity that exists in everyone. Once we acknowledge that God exists in everyone, it removes any hatred, jealousy, or ill will we feel towards them. Vibhuti Yoga purifies our mind and prepares us for the next step in our spiritual journey. Vishwarupam, to see everything as God. That is why Gita follows this trajectory. It moves from Vibhuti Yoga in the 10th chapter to Vishwarupam in the 11th chapter. That's it from me. Thank you for watching.
I hope you enjoyed that.
Excellent, excellent, Rajesh. Excellent. Beautifully explained.
It's a good summary.
Beautiful.
So that's it from me. Next.
So Rajesh, you fully outsourced. Huh? I thought you were going to say something after that.
Fully outsourced this time. Because I don't think that I could have explained better than what this lady has done. She's done an amazing job. I did some research on looking at how I could bring in some movie clips, and I was looking at Lord of the Rings and Interstellar and all that. But then I realized that what this lady has done is the best to explain chapter 10. So I rest my case here.
Superb.
It's very, very beautiful. Thank you.
Who next?
Hey, I might also need to leave, so I will take a rain check and then do mine next week. And I'm also working on it, so I just wanted to mention it. So if anybody else wants to jump in, please do. But Srini, just wanted to say, oh, hold on 1 minute. So very nice insights. Especially, I loved your insights from Swami P's teachings also, bringing in all the various Upanishads and
Yeah.
those insights are very precious, I think, because what Krishna is doing here is he is basically what we have talked about this before, right? He pulls from all these other teachings and he's just copying everything. But the thing is, it's all him anyway, talking about himself and doing it over and over again.
Correct,
So
correct.
it's really beautiful.
Yeah, actually, Swami P brings in Tattva Bodha, Swami P brings in Upanishads, he brings a lot of context into the Gita itself. So in that way, we are able to learn the other concepts also a little bit, and then later on when we elevate, we can delve deep into that. So that way is bringing in very good context, and then the way he jokes is also very good. So his passion for teaching is very, very nice even at this age.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you one very interesting thing, right? I was sending that Sagrada Familia. We were in Spain last week on a holiday, and that architecture was very beautiful. So I sent a message, and Rick sent me a separate message. He's not going to be available this week and next week. He sent me a separate message saying, "Hey, it's very beautiful. I'm going to be gone, and this 10th chapter, I will come and listen to all your recordings." Then he had suggested Swami D's, Swami P's guru, his teachings and the home study books, right? So I got them and I was reading chapter 10, and I can clearly see the teachings coming down. Some of the references, just looking while you were talking, I was looking at chapter 10 pages here of Swami D's home study thing. And some of those things you can quickly relate when you were talking about Swami P pulling from different scriptures and stuff. It's very nice to see that those teachings are coming down from one to the other. It's beautiful.
Correct. And Swami D is also quoted very often in Swami P's lectures. So in any lecture, he almost quotes 3 to 4 times of Swami D's teachings.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you. I had leave. I had a holiday yesterday. I was not going to office, so spend some time to make this short PPT.
Fantastic.
Very nice.
Good. Who wants to go next?
Guntax, others didn't feel like outsourcing. Only you did.
Yeah, I can go next. Yeah. So.
Yeah, go.
All right. Start with the prayer. Nityanandam Paramasukhatam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvanvadidam Gagana Sadursham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshi Budam Pabatitam Trigunaragitam Satgurum Tam Namami. So actually this chapter 10 personally was a big treat. For me, it gave me a big insight into how a master and a disciple communication happens. And again, with context of a lot of the interactions I had with my guru, it kind of put a perspective or a framework into place. So if you can, stepping back and looking at how Krishna talks I see it as from 3 vantage points, right? Sometimes he is talking as a Nirguna Brahman, right? I'm everything, everything is in me. So the ultimate truth that he's established in he and the Nirguna Brahman, right? Without attributes, everything comes and goes, is him. If you see some of the truths or statements or slokas come from that identity, or when he's on that vantage point, that's kind of one broad streak of vantage point perspective he comes. The second large perspective will come with is that he's also the gods, right? I am this, I'm that, I'm the rishis. So basically I'm the Brahman from which everything comes, everything goes back into, but I'm also something that God's established outside of it, right? Which we perceive in this world, which is which is the Indra, the Varuna, the rishis. So second vantage point is that he's also that of the Saguna Brahman, right? So from the him as a Saguna Brahman as a teaching is kind of the second vantage point. The third, I think, perspective point of view he comes is as embodied master standing in front of Arjuna, answering his questions, right? Which is, I am Krishna, which is embodied in this thing. I'm answering your question, which is the identity of the body-mind ecosystem that he's carrying at that point in time. So if you look at a lot of the things come from these three vantage points. And when I kind of reflect, so it basically took me down the memory path, right? Because when I met my guru, I did not, none of this, I had these understandings. And my guru also always taught from these three vantage points. So when I kind of looked at this chapter, and the click was that for me was the aha moment is, oh, this is the three vantage points from which a master can communicate to a disciple or a team of or group of disciples. And then it just kind of went back to the memory lane where I could relate to many teachings he gave from the vantage of, or many conversations, not as much as teachings, many conversations he had with us, or he told us things as a Nirguna Brahman. And many incidents he showed where he's the Nirguna Brahman, right? Sometimes, because my guru always told us that, the reason why a embodied guru comes, right? We can always learn from the scriptures, but the reason why an embodied master happens is the biomemory, right? The muscle memory and biomemory. When I'm sitting in front and learning and seeing things, right? Like then it absorbs the possibility very, very quickly. So like an example is like, somebody who can, like somebody who doesn't understand human being can swim, right? The possibility of swimming, right? We can talk about, hey, you can swim, you can swim. But the minute he sees somebody jumping in front of him into the water and swimming, the possibility of the truth gets absorbed by a great depth by somebody who's seeing. So something gets very powerfully transmitted. The very fact he sees somebody swimming and the possibility jumps. He says that is where the embodied gurus happen, because the disciples have to not feel the possibility of all these things. All these things are possible, that the scriptures are talking. When I'm saying Aham Brahmasmi, he sees somebody establishing the truth, and you absorb bits and pieces of that happening. So to me, this framework of these three vantage points that he operates, and then I kind of reflect back on many things that like I learned from him. He also had these three vantage points he taught us. So sometimes I'll see him as an embodied guru, and very, very playfully as a human being, right? Interacting with us as a human level, sometimes playing like funny pranks, right? Like almost like childlike pranks that you play in kindergarten. He'll play those pranks on us, right? On his disciples. So where you almost like 30 seconds, you won't even know, like you interact with him as a human, right? And then suddenly he will drop into the zone of Brahman, Nirguna Brahman, and give like a teaching, right? As part of that exercise. So it is not that, like it's almost like he'll play and then he'll step back and give you a deep insight from a Brahman. So that's how, then you kind of see, oh, this is possible, right? For me, like all those interactions and memories are there, but reading this chapter 10, put it in a framework. Oh, these are the three vantage points he operates and continues to operated. And how I can now see how one can switch from one to the other as a guru, right? And just continue to live and teach for us, right? So it was a huge, where I could see him as a human being playing pranks, like silly pranks. And then the second is, him as a deva, right? Manifesting as one of the devas, right? Like I seen him control the 5 elements, which is rain, just any aspect of it, right? I mean, he's just that 5 elements, and all the devas are literally, I mean, listening to him and answering his commands. So literally, like I've seen him in places where he'll invoke the mantra and he will say, Varuna, come, like in singular, right? It's not even like Varuna ji, right? Varuna, come, and then just rain showers, right? And like in 30 seconds, right? Incidents where clearly the power of him and as all the deities are established. And then the third is, where I've seen him just as the Nirguna Brahman and just talking as Aham, I am the sun, I am everything, I manifest everything, and also expressing that aham, right? Where like I remember an incident where he was teaching pranayama for maybe about 3.5 hours, right? Where he was asking us to breathe in and breathe out, right? And, like we're not used to it. We're not yogis, right? So we are doing very shallow in and out. So he said, dude, like guys, that's like you should hold longer. You should hold longer, right? And then like people are like that, right? So he made fun and said, okay, let me show you, right? And then he said, everybody take the breath in, and then he just snapped his finger. And none of us could breathe out after that. It just the whole group, right? The breath was inside. Okay. And we could not, the control of our breath had just gotten away from us, right? And then he just waited, maybe for like a minute and a half. I never held my breath that long, right? It's not me holding breath. I just couldn't breathe out, right? So he just held, and then he said like this. Then the breath came out. He said, this is how you should do pranayama, right? Just a teaching, just as a Brahman, right? Because everything is in me, everything is happening in me, and everything moves just by my hand, right? He'll just very casually establish that, right? So that's, to me, this was, give me a framework, and actually a lot of very joyful, blissful, walk down the memory path. I was trying to classify many interactions. He was a Nirguna Brahman, he was a Saguna Brahman, he was just a human being playing pranks with us, right? So to me, that was really very juicy preparation for this event today, right? Because I went down a lot of things, and I could say, oh, here he was like that, here he was like that. Even though I kind of understood it in a different way, but this framework was pretty awesome. So that to me, I think, was very blissful back of remembering these incidents and putting in the framework because of chapter 10 revision. That was my key takeaway. Is that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful, Mukul.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Excellent.
Thank you.
Any questions for Mukul?
Mukul, can you repeat the 3 vantage points once more?
One is
Saguna.
as the Saguna Brahman, right? As a Brahman from which everything, I am that, right? There's no other, right? Second is as the deities, right? Because, Varuna, all the gods, the sun god, anything that is outside, right? So as those deities. Third one is as the embodied
Nirguna.
guru, right? Where you are almost, you see him as a human, right? And think like a human like things, where you'll do human like activities. So there are embodied guru. So there's no other attribute, just as a human being interacting with you, embodied guru.
Oh, that one. Okay.
So Mukul, I'm just curious, as a disciple, how important was it to see those siddhis for not only you, but also for amongst other disciples? I'm just trying to
Actually, it's a
understand.
very good question. Yeah. I'm going to use the word Shakti, right? Because the word siddhis is more of a technical thing. Maybe I'll take 30 minutes because this is, again, can get controversial. I think siddhis is one way, one science. Shaktis is other science. The key difference is in a siddhi, your identity is established as a human and expressing an extraordinary. As a human, you're moving towards divine. In a Shakti, which happens through an initiation, the expression of Shaktis can happen through an initiation, where you're established, the identity, you're a Brahman, and then you're expressing whatever the expression out of the identity. So not as a human. So that's a big difference. So his philosophy is all of Shaktis. And from a disciple's point of view, right? My personal view is not only him expressing, he will also have us express Shaktis, right? He will initiate us into express Shaktis. See, because I can keep saying I am part of oneness, I'm part of oneness, right? But the minute I see that something is responding, when I see him say something and the cosmos is responding to it, right? The memory, my biomemory, takes the possibility to a different level. And when sometimes he initiates and we can do that, right? Meaning this ecosystem can do it. When I'm saying me, not this embodied self, right? As a Brahman, I can do it. The possibility, it just goes up. So it's almost like, to me, those expressions take me from reading the menu to tasting the food. That's important as it is. The theory just breaks down significantly, and you see him express it, and then sometimes you explore and you see that happening. It is like, you're now starting to eat bits and pieces of rasagulla and know that rasagulla exists. It's a world of day and night difference.
Thank you. Yeah.
Extremely well explained, Mukul. Thank you. Anybody else? Any questions for Mukul?
Hey, just a quick comment. I love the three different views of that the Guru brings. That's very, very beautiful, Mukul. This is something that how we say, right? Some of these things stick in your mind, like when you're listening to your master, or when you're listening to your Guru, it's going to keep coming back, like what you just said. The three different ways the Guru can manifest. Very, very nice. Thank you.
Mukul, just one clarification. The Shakti is initiated by the Guru?
Yeah, the Shakti is through only an initiation, correct?
Shakti
It's
is
not by a
initiated
practice from your side.
Yeah, Siddhi can be a practice by ourselves itself.
Correct.
If you recite a mantra for 1,00,000 times or a
That is
crore
right.
times, you can get the Siddhi powers. But
Correct.
Shakti is initiated through a Guru.
Just a gift, yes.
Excellent. Understood. Thank you. The power of having a Guru.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Thank you again. Thanks. This has been a big ride for me personally. Last 2-3 days, I've been just smiling the whole time. Thank you. Thanks to this revision.
All right. Who wants to go next? Nobody? Are we done for the day then?
Hey, today was full revisions. Is it good, Tax? And then next week we'll continue.
No, next week also, I think if there are other people who wants to revise, we can do that. But then after that, we will probably move to Purusha Suktam.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can definitely do next week.
Okay. Anybody else wants to revise chapter 10, or we can probably get back 30 minutes, 40 minutes early?
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing, like in general, right? Even when we watched Mahabharat, like B.R. Chopra's the great the first time it was done, I remember Srini, myself, Uday. I don't remember you joining, but you might have in the common room. We'll go and watch Mahabharata episodes, right? The half an hour or the 45 minutes.
Yes.
Beautiful times. And one of the things everybody always look forward to is when Krishna will do Vishwarupa Darshan. And chapter 10 is kind of like a mega setup for what is to come. So I'll probably focus on that aspect next week when we meet. That's what I was thinking, because that's like a big favorite for a lot of people.
It looks like this is
Definitely
your
a favorite
setup.
for me. Sorry?
No, this is your setup, I'm saying, for next week.
Yeah, this is my setup. Yes. That's my way of setting it up. Yes. Yeah, and I remember long time back, right? Last time when we were doing Swami D's teachings of Bhagavad Gita, the first time when I had joined, and there were a bunch of us newbies. we were having a big discussion on what Vibhuti actually means. I remember Satya or Sakuba asking the question, and we had a major discussion on that. It's all coming back as a nice memory.
When I wasn't actually thinking of doing the revision, given that I had shared that video. But if I have to pick one Vibhuti, I was most fascinated by, in general, I'm fascinated by that whenever he says, I am Maunam. So he's the silence. So, and among the secrets, I am the silence. So what was fascinating was the chapter, in chapter 9, he says, I am Raj Guhir, right? I'm the biggest secret. And among those secrets, I am the Maunam. And Maunam, because when there is silence, there's just nothing. So even that nothingness also represents Brahman. So it's twofold. One, it cannot be described, and hence there is silence. The other is because that is the deepest secret, but it cannot be explained. So it's a very fascinating vibhuti, which I think I've thought about it a lot. So I thought I'll just share that. Something to do nididhyasana upon. How can you think so much about silence, which is nothing, and yet it takes deeper towards, what really Brahman is. So I thought I'll just share that.
That's
No, very nice.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
In fact, actually, while I was preparing for my chapter 10 in the morning, and I found this video, but then I'd written up 2 pages of notes as well. Okay, and I can share that offline if you guys want. But basically, here is what I was going through. Right, I was going through. If you look at the setup, what he does for chapter 10, in the beginning, there was this guy who was confused. It was a confused mind who discovered that there was a problem, and then Krishna gives him a solution, but then he doesn't understand the solution. And then he says, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? Then Krishna says, okay, do what you have to do in your life. Do what your goal is. And then he keeps on going, but then the thing is there in the back of his mind. Okay, you are telling me that at the end of the day, all these things doesn't. Then what matters is only that you are the only one existence. But I don't see that. How do I find that thing? Then he says, okay, hey, I'm going to give you a bunch of techniques. This is called the dhyana yoga. Do this technique. This is called karma yoga. Do this technique. It will prepare your mind. And then dhyana yoga, it will calm your mind. It will calm your mind, and then you will have an object or an identity that you will start meditating on, start relating to. But then Arjuna is not satisfied. Okay, so if all the things are, if I have to keep doing this, and if I have to keep bringing my mind to that entity, which is the only truth, how exactly can I go about still? But why am I seeing this entire universe, and what is happening? And then when Bhagavan further confuses him when he says that, okay, whatever that you're seeing outside is all just me, and me expressed myself. But then when Arjuna gets confused again, saying, okay, one time you're saying, okay, calm your mind, and you're telling me some techniques to go inwards, and now you're saying the whole universe is me. How can I make sense of the whole thing? Now I'm again confused. And that's when he says, okay, hey, at the end of the day, you got to draw the line. Draw the line between you and the universe. Shift the line from where you're currently drawn, which is the body and mind, to the universe, to you, but then you shift that line towards awareness, and then push your body and mind outside into the universe. And then when you start looking at it, whatever that expresses itself outside in that entire universe is all just nothing but different shapes in the gold that you make, or different waves that you see in the ocean. So you can't separate the gold or the water from the ornaments in the waves. And when you start practicing that technique, then the mind will become really, really calm. And that calmness, the maunam, Alpana, what you mentioned, this is what I was reflecting on in the morning, right? The calmness is not about it's a thing that you experience when your mind is totally transparent, without coloring the awareness in any fashion. Therefore, when it is transparent, then it automatically becomes non-judgmental, and when it is non-judgmental, then you see the truth the way it is.
Thank you. Alpana, what you mentioned as silence just reminded me that I've often wondered about this, actually. In meditation, there's some, I actually see the sound, often hear the sound of silence, as in, I don't know if anyone has experienced this. Basically, there is a constant unbreaking, I don't know how to explain it. Essentially, it's a sound of silence on which all the other sounds come and go. And that is what I was reminded of when you mentioned this. And it's very, very peaceful in that sound of silence. And when you, anyway.
Yeah, Alpana, did you say you had shared a video on chapter 10?
Yeah, this was my sharing of chapter 10 when I was going through a Gita round. So
you already shared on the group?
I think I
Today?
did.
Was
Not
it
today.
today?
Not today.
No, he's given it much earlier. Yeah.
Okay.
Before
Good.
last actually session.
Nice.
In fact, another interesting one is the three most important characters in Gita. One is Krishna himself, who's the teacher, Arjuna, who's the learner, and Vyasa, who did the compilation. He's all of them. And so
we both no?
And he's the teacher and he's the learner, right? Both of them it is. And that's the crux of Uttaret Atmanam, right? That I can only do my own Uddhar, because both of them, I am the one who does and one whose Uddhar is done. Only when we understand that, then the Uddhar is done. Because it's not somebody who will come and do Uddhar of somebody else. The moment there are two entities, it cannot be the flawless Uddhar. It can only be when it is of the self, by self. So there are some interesting, if you look at Vibhutis, there's some interesting stuff in it.
Hey, Alpana, I didn't understand that Uttaratmanam. Can you explain, please? I didn't quite get
So
what you were saying.
there's another. Hey, Krishna, help me with the shloka. I don't remember the numbers and the
6.5.
This chapter 6, verse 5. Uddaret atmanat atmanam na
yeah.
atmanam avasadiyet. Atmaiva bandhu atmaiva atmano ripuhu.
So that verse says, right, that only Atma, we only can do our own Uddhar. Uddhar is our, what's the English word for it? Our own development or evolution or, so here if you look at, he's both the teacher, both the preacher and the learner. He's both of them. So that's the only way when Uddhar can happen, when it's the same one who's doing the Uddhar and whose Uddhar is being done. And that is when it is God himself or Atman himself. We tend to say, oh, we are our best friends, we are our best foe. But if you go deeper into it, it is because it is the same Atman. It's the same thing. So there are no two sides to it. There's the preacher on one side and there's a learner on the other side, but it's the same thing. And when we understand that, then there is no other uddhar required, because we know that we are the one.
Yeah.
I think Professor
Okay.
VK calls it like the higher self and the lower self, right? Like your own inner Atma, the Jivatma, when we call it, it's the higher self. And you have to lift your lower self by your higher self, and nobody else can do that. Only you do by yourself. Like
Yeah, so
Swami
that's
calls
where
it
we,
Atma Kripa.
correct. That's how we start in that 6th chapter when but here he's saying, I am the learner, I am the preacher. Then that even that lower self and the higher self is essentially the same self. Which I
Yeah,
am.
yeah.
So that is the
Very
uddhar.
nice. Yeah. Very beautiful. But the teaching itself, like when he is giving his vibhutis, that is, it is still not. It is still assuming the dual, master student master or student guru relationship, but it keeps going back to 6.5 is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, so actually it appears to be dualistic, but the moment you start looking at any of these vibhutis, they point to the highest truth still.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
That
That is really beautiful. Yeah. Okay.
they point to the unity and the oneness, and that is what I am as well. That is what you are. Because he's teaching it to us. So.
And that was beautiful, Alpana. And I think when you said about Maunam, what reminded me is in chaos there's beauty. Similarly, in Maunam there is beauty, right? So I think he's trying to explain all kind of vibhutis, but within those vibhutis, everything is beautiful. So if you look at one thing as everything, then everything as one thing, it's all same consciousness.
Because chaos also, the default is silence. Everywhere the default is silence. The waves appear and go down. So the sound comes and goes back. But the default state is silence.
Right.
So silence, yes, has so many different angles to it. And if you just elaborate and just write that, I think you can write a thesis on it.
Thesis. Yeah, it's like sapta, colors, and when you see it, you can see it as white or you can see it as black. But there are different shades, but ultimately it's the same consciousness. Similarly for sound, so it's just amazing.
I think talking about Mauna, right? At least brings to memory, like sometimes there are initiations where my guru will do, and then there's a state where you lose track of time. It's not even Mauna means like one. It's got layers of silence. Right? One is the mind is calm, but I think the deepest is sometimes he'll put us to a process, and then it's like you go to sleep and you wake up, right? Then the process will end, the Shanti mantra will come, but then if you look at the clock, the 3 or 4 hours would have transpired, right? But there's no recording of that. So I think that's also his Mauna is kind of one of the insights, when he kind of made us put through, and then we look at the clock, like 4 hours went or 5 hours. There's no bathroom, there's no food, there's no restlessness. It just goes, and then you feel like, okay, I remember here, and then I remember the Shanti mantra getting in and getting out. So it's just, I think the Mauna is to your point is, I think it's a layered nuances, and it's a deep topic in itself, for sure.
Actually, even if you look at the Om chanting, right? You do the Akara, Ukara, Makara, and then there is a gap between 2 Oms, which is the Turiya state, which is the silence.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, when you do the chanting, that's silence, which is equivalent to the Turiya state, right? That's one. Second is, Satya Sai Baba also used to say that when you pray, right, you are talking to God. But when you meditate and withdraw and go into silence, it's an opportunity for God to talk to you. Yeah. So I thought silence, and there's always this saying, right? In the depth of silence is when the voice of the Lord is heard, right? It's that prompt which keeps coming to you, and you sort of, and I can understand and resonate with what Kishore is saying, that there is a sound of silence, right? apart from that song, I think it still holds a lot of merit, and it's very beautiful. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Amazingly well said. Very nice.
Yeah, even Ramana Maharishi answered 90% of his queries through silence. So people went to him, sat in front of him, and then they were baffled what to ask. But ultimately, they got their answer and they left. So it happened in silence.
Yeah. Same is the case with Dakshinamurti, right? I mean, in a sense,
Yes.
you just go there
Yes.
and stand in silence, right?
Yes. Yes.
Actually, there are 4 levels of sound as well itself, right? So first is Vaikhari. Vaikhari is the one which we hear. Second is Madhyama, which is at the level of thoughts. The third one is Pashyanti, what I think Kishore was referring to, where you see some. Was it Kishore or was it Mukku who was mentioning about where you see the silence? And then the fourth is Para. And that Para is the real Maunam where nothing is required. So when the gurus transmit, they often use the second and third as well, where it is transmitted through thought or transmitted through vision, or vision not by the eyes, but it's the
inner vision.
Yeah, it's just you get it, that you get it. So it's fascinating that how and all these are called, they are Shabd, that there were 4 levels of Shabd itself, which our rishis have documented what are different levels at which they go through transmitting or talking or so.
That's wonderful, Arpana. I think the mantra, right? The definition of mantra, Sanskrit translation, they see it, right? It's darshana inside. So
yeah.
I think that's what Kishore was referring to. So all the mantras are revealed in that. I think the third layer, the Pashyanti.
Pashyanti, yeah, because
that's a state where it's revealed. The mantras are all revealed to the rishis in that state.
Yeah. So Vishwamitra did Sakshatkar of Gayatri Mantra.
Correct.
So that Sakshatkar was the Pashyanti level.
Pashyanti layer. That's where all the rishis get revealed. And I think, Kishore, what you are referring to, that is that layer. Is how I feel.
Yeah.
Basically, as the mind calms down in meditation, you can actually hear that sound of silence, and you can. It's almost like a constant buzz, or like a shruti that keeps going on and on. And then you can kind of see that everything else is layered on top and goes away, comes and goes, comes and goes. But that seeing is basically the witnessing from inside, right? The seeing is not, it's an inner seeing, if you will.
And then I think I was just reminded of one more point where I think we were discussing that Krishna says, go and fight, right? So that's not a commandment type of instruction. It is because Arjun had already decided that he wants to fight. It is only to negate the thoughts that he was getting that I don't want to fight. So because at times when they say that Gita is a dharma shastra and Krishna tells Arjun that you should go and fight. So that's more of a adharma kind of a thing. Whereas he's not actually, at no place is he instructing him, even though it may appear like that. But he's trying to negate that whatever thoughts you're having, not to fight because of certain things, he's trying to negate them. And then he says, now you decide whether you want to fight or not fight. At no point does he say that. Swami P mentions it one of the lectures, so I thought I'll just mention it here.
I think that's a good insight, right? So what I've seen, right, when the master works with you, right, he works with the disciple to establish him in the ultimate identity that he's the Parabrahma, right? So anything that is negating that, right? So he's going to teach him to either phase it and transcend, right? So I
Yeah.
think in one of the interpretation I heard my guru talk about exactly this point where Krishna says Arjuna to go fight. He says if Arjuna was saying, "Oh, I'm going to give up the weapons," it's all that is from a powerlessness, right? It is not. He was. Oh, I am this by identity. I'm the small Arjuna. I don't want. He didn't. He was just trying to avoid something.
Yeah.
And but if same Arjuna had established as a Parabrahma, right, and from that space he had spoken, then Krishna would say proceed with that. That's what he was saying. When the master operates, is always he looks at the disciples' space from which they're uttering or doing something, right? If the space is established in the ultimate, then it is all dharma. But when the space is not established in the ultimate, then you could be doing the highest of the donation or giving away, but still the master will not allow that, right? And that's why you got to be very careful when you read master's teaching. If you don't have the context of this, then sometimes you'll get caught up in this societal dharma aspect, and he always said that, if Arjuna had stood up there as a establishing their identity and said, I don't want to fight, Krishna would have said, yeah, let's go back, right? But he did not. He was trying to avoid. So Krishna has to put him through the fire to make him understand he's the ultimate, right? That's the whole journey there.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, you articulated it well. And this was to avoid, because people, when they just read or they skim through Gita, they'll say, oh, it's promoting Hinsa. It's trying to tell him that go fight. But it's not. It is not a commandment, because he had already decided that he will fight. It is to.
It's just the layers and layers of nuances. Amazing.
Anything else anyone wants to share outside of chapter 10 as well? Now that we have 10 more minutes. 10 more minutes. Anything?
Hey, I was listening to summary of chapter 10 by Swami P. And I haven't completed it. I did not have the time. But he mentioned about how the whole Gita is divided into three sections of 6 chapters each. The first chapter is the entire description of the Jiva. The second section is the description of the Ishvara. And the third section of 6 chapters is the yoga of Jiva and Ishvara, how they two are one and the same, and they're together. And then he talks about this particular midsection, the Ishvara, that section, and he says how Krishna starts with saying about Saguna Ishvara, and then he talks about how he's the creator, and then he goes on to say that, okay, when you think about a creator, then you also need to think about what is he creating the world out of, what is the material out of which he's creating. Then he says that I am also the material cause for the creation, and therefore entire creation is itself Ishvara, to what Srini was also mentioning in his presentation. So that was very beautifully captured in terms of the gradation, right? You first think about a creator. When you think about a creator, you think about a person with some ability to create, like a carpenter creates furniture or a potter creates the pots. And then you go to the step where okay, the potter has the clay, the carpenter has the wood. What did God have, right? God created it out of his own, right? The material. He was the material cause itself. So the whole universe is God itself. So you don't have to wait to see God. God is always present. So that was a beautiful explanation, I felt.
Yeah.
Hmm.
By the way, just a little nuance in that. So we tend to think that even Jiva is created by Ishwar, but that's not the case. Both Jiva and Ishwar, they are Anadi. So Jiva is not created by Ishwar. So when we tend to think of universe, then we include Jiva in that as well. But Jiva is not created. So Jiva as the current Sharir has been existing as the Ishwar has been existing forever without any beginning. It is the Jiva's Sukshma Sharir and Sthul Sharir and the universe that we see. That is what is created by Ishvara based upon Jiva's karmas. So if Jivas were not there and they were not doing any karma, Ishwar will not create any universe as well. Because Ishwar does not create universe for himself or herself. He creates it for the Jivas to give the results of the fruits of the action. So both Jeev and Ishwar are Anadi.
So let me ask you a question, or what I always get it doubted. If Jiva was Anadi, and the universe was created for the Jivas to exhaust their karma, so to say, right? That's what you are alluding to, right?
Yeah.
It's a play field where Jivas can exhaust.
Yeah.
So where did the Jivas initially gain karma from if there was no universe?
Because it's Anadi, it doesn't have beginning.
But
So
where did
Because
the karma come
you
from?
believe it has karma, right? I believe you got created. This is a belief that that karma, that identity exists to start with.
Where does the
It does not.
negative number end? Wherever you have, there is a -1.
Like as Swami P also says, karma is also anadi. Like, how do you figure out a starting point in a circle, right? So that's the best explanation we can give. It's like the moment we draw a straight line, that means you have already created time and space. The time begins and it ends somewhere. So the best explanation for that, it's a circle. Karma is also anadi. So Jiva, Ishvara, Karma, all three of them are anadi.
Ignorance is also Anadi, right?
So Jiva is ignorance.
Ignorance
That's
is
the
also.
key.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the key.
Okay.
Including Ishwar.
Ishwar is Anadi, yes, I can.
Ishwar is also ignorance. But Ishwar is not ignorant about himself. Jiva is also ignorance. Ishwar is also ignorance, but Ishwar is not ignorant about his identity. Jiva is ignorant about his identity. The moment he understands, the ignorance goes away. So Ishwar goes away, Jeev goes away, only Brahman remains.
So that is why the Prakriti is called Avidya in Jiva, and it is called Maya in Ishvara, because more of sattvic characteristics of the Ishvara.
But it is still ignorance. It's
Okay.
all on the side of Maya, on this side of it, right?
See, what you
I think
said now, Alpana, is chapter 8. Adi Yajna is there, no? Adi Yajna is what you said just now, the creation of Jiva with the karmas. So he describes 5, na? He describes the karma, he describes Brahman, Adi Bhudam, Adi Yajnam, and Adi Devam. Na? Adi Yajnam is creating this Jiva with their karmas. So that is what was explained in chapter 8, if I'm correct.
It's creating the universe for the Jiva's karmas to be exhausted or burnt in that yagna. Yeah. But
Correct.
the Jiva itself is Anadi.
Yeah.
And
And the
Ishwar
Adi, and the Adi Devam there is the Hiranyagarbha, which is the Devam there, which is present in all the Jivas, and which is actually running this entire show. They go to the extent of saying that even your there is God in your digestive system, circulatory system. All this is Adi Devam, which is there throughout the world.
So
Is
this
that correct?
Ishvara, which is Maya, its a subtle body is sum total of all the subtle bodies of all the Jivas.
Jivas, correct.
So that's why it's total of our internal systems, etc. as well, right? So that becomes Ishwar's subtle body.
Subtle body, which is called the Hiranyagarbha.
Which is called the Hiranyagarbha. And then
Understood.
sum total of all of our bodies plus whatever we see in the Jagat becomes the physical body, Sthul Sharira of Ishvara.
Okay, understood.
But Ishvara and Jeev, when we refer to, we are referring to the causal body, which is a Gyan.
So Sthul Sharira of Ishvara is the Virat.
Virat, which is everybody, all of us are physical bodies plus the entire universe of all the Jagat that we see.
Everything is Virat. Okay.
That becomes the body of Ishvara, the
Ishvara.
physical
Understood.
body.
Understood. Right.
I think the essence of this is in Mandukya Upanishad, right, the 18 shlokas, and there's a good 6 videos of Swami Sarvanya SPG, which is a good summary, Uday. So you may want to see that actually. That answers this question. Yeah, Mandukya is just this essence, period. What you just talked about, and like, you know, you can listen to those videos, but he says the 4 states, right, waking, dream, sleep, deep sleep, right, are a true representation of that cycle.
Yeah, correct.
Right, and that's kind of how you link it to that. I think if you'll enjoy that. He speaks.
It is the IIT Kharagpur, na? IIT Kharagpur videos.
No, this is the Mandukya Upanishad. He formally goes through the 18 shlokas of Mandukya Upanishad as a class. In a 6-day series, I think he did in somewhere. There's a 6-day series, there's like a 12 or 18-day series. So I just did the 6-day because it's just quicker to go through. So
it's available on
YouTube. If you
YouTube.
want, I can send the link, Uday. Let me know.
Yeah, please.
Please send.
I've seen his Kharagpur videos, but this I have not seen. That is also very that is also very detailed. Yes, detailed. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, but then he has 879 or some lectures on Mandukya with Karikas, which is also very beautiful.
Yeah.
So that's like if you want detail. But also, Uday, did you do Tattva Bodh? Because even that will explain this Ishwar, Jeev, and
I've done that.
Yeah. So then this Mandukya is also very good. Okay, anything else? Anybody? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya
Purnamevavashistate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Guru Padagarpanamastu.
Hari Om.
Thank you all. Hari Om. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to have you back, man.
Thank you.